I've reviewed more golf rangefinders than probably anyone in the entire world. I have also played more rounds of golf with Arccos than the vast majority of people in the world. So when Arccos announced this, the Smart Laser Rangefinder, it is safe to say that I was very excited and very skeptical. Because if there's one thing I've learned in reviewing a whole bunch of rangefinders, it's that most of them are fine. There's nothing that special. And so I've been very excited to find out if this device is indeed special and worth the price of admission. Today, I'm going to give you my full review of the Arccos Smart Laser. I'm going to tell you what I like, what I don't, and help you figure out if you should consider buying it. If that sounds good, let's not waste any time. Let's jump right into this thing. Okay, first things first, just in case you're not familiar with Arccos, Arccos is a GPS game tracking system. You put sensors in every single one of your clubs, and then it will track every shot that you hit on a golf course. This will not only tell you exactly how far you hit every shot, it'll tell you if you're in the rough, it'll tell you if you're in the sand. It will give you strokes gain numbers around every aspect of your game. It will then make recommendations around your actual game, around what's working well, what you can improve, and how you can go about improving it. I've played nearly 400 rounds of golf with Arccos, and quite frankly, it's one of my all-time favorite golf products. Okay, so now that you know what Arccos is, let's talk about what the Smart Laser is and what sets it apart. So essentially, this is a laser rangefinder that you use in tandem with the Arccos game tracking system. On top of just being a laser rangefinder, there are two main things as it sits right now that set this apart from your typical rangefinder. The first is smart distances. When it is paired with the app, it is going to look at slope, elevation, altitude, wind direction to give you the most accurate plays-like distances in the game. Or at least that's the claim that they're making. We'll talk more about that later on. The second feature is automatic pin setting. So in order to make your Arccos data as accurate as possible, it needs to know where the pin is. That's what's going to give you accurate approach numbers, and that's what's going to give you accurate putting numbers. So before, what you would historically do is you would walk up to the pin, and if you were using your watch or their Link Pro or just the phone app, you would hit a button that says set pin, and it would recognize where the pin is on the green. Now with the rangefinder, all you have to do is shoot the flag and it will automatically tag where the green is. If you are an Arccos user and you're used to setting that pin, you know how convenient that is. We're going to talk about all those smart features in more depth and how well they work in just a few minutes, but first, let's talk about first impressions. What is this thing like out of the box, and how does it work just as a standard laser rangefinder? Taking this thing out of the box, generally no surprises. When you open this up, you're going to get the device itself. You're going to get a standard canvas laser rangefinder case, a carabiner, a microfiber cloth, and then a note from the brand that's simply introducing what the rangefinder is and what the rangefinder does. Picking this thing up for the first time, it's a really nice size. If you know me, I like to have a little bit of weight behind my rangefinders. I want it to feel like stable in the hand, and rangefinders that feel a little bit heavier tend to convey all of that well. What I like about it is that while it is heavy and has some nice weight, it's not too big and bulky. If you look at, say, the Cobalt Q6 or the Bushnell Pro X3, those are getting to be like pretty like chunky rangefinders. Those things are pretty big, and the Arccos one is a much more reasonable size. Overall, it's not the most impressive looking device. Like you look at those other two I just mentioned, they feel like they are almost like overbuilt a little bit. They feel a little bit more substantial, but the Arccos one is no slouch either. I like the fact they have a textured rubber that kind of goes all the way around the top. It's both good for grip, it adds to the aesthetics, and it just feels really nice in the hand. There's two buttons across the top, very straightforward, very simple. The first button is your power button as well as your range distance button, and the second one is for settings. Settings changes with this device are relatively minimal, but very easy to do nonetheless. Also on the side, you have a slope switch. It's got the nice Arccos crown logo in there, a little green. But for those golfers that easily want to be able to turn off smart distances and slope for tournament play, very easy to do. All you have to do is flip the switch. Nothing overly groundbreaking there. Now, before we get into all the smart features, let's talk about how this works just as a laser rangefinder. Because if it doesn't do a good job of that, then honestly, all the rest doesn't really matter. Fortunately, I was very pleasantly surprised the first time I looked through this. The optics are excellent. It has 6.1x magnification, optics are super clear, and the red LED display also looks really good. While I do wish you had the ability to toggle back and forth between a red and a black display, the red is very crisp, very clear, and I don't think that's going to be an issue for most people. One of the things I found when testing out cheaper rangefinders is often that red LED backlit display can be more of a negative than a positive. It can get cloudy, it can be hard to read, you can get some kind of light bleed into the optics itself, and the good news is you don't get any of that with this rangefinder. Everything is super crisp and super clear, and it's on par with the best displays I have seen. I've now played 2 rounds with this, and I'm happy to report it is extremely extremely accurate. I have had zero issues getting it to lock on a flag and give me a number that I'm confident with. Even if there have been trees or flags in the background, this seems to lock onto the flag very quickly and very accurately. With a lot of less expensive rangefinders, reliability can really be a concern, and so you're having to hit it and it's giving you different distances every time. For the most part, this gives me the same distance, and I have really not had any issues with getting it to lock onto the flag. That being said, I do have one critique, and that comes down to the vibration feature in this. So typically, the whole reason a vibration feature should be there is to give you confirmation that it is locked onto the flag. So it should only vibrate if you are locked onto the flag. If you're shooting a bunker, if you're shooting something else, you should not get that vibration. Well, in most rangefinders, what you end up finding is it is going to vibrate no matter what. Every time you range a distance, every time you shoot it, it's going to vibrate. And while that provides a nice tactile experience, it's not actually that useful. It's not giving you confirmation that yes, this is the accurate number. And with this device, I've found that same thing. It is going to vibrate pretty much no matter what you range. So down the line, I'd love to see a firmware update or an improvement so that it only vibrates when you lock onto that flag and not every single time you're shooting a distance. This is a relatively minor critique, and it is something you see in like 90% of laser rangefinders out there. I found it to be less of an issue here because it does seem to be so accurate with the numbers and locking onto the flag, but it is still one of those things that you would like to see considering this is a premium product. One other thing before we get into the smart features is there is a built-in magnet on this, so you can put it on your golf cart so that you can forget it down the line. The magnet feels really strong. I just do wish there was some sort of design element that reminds me of where the magnet is, because on both of these sides, aside from the slope switch, I honestly, right now, I don't remember which side the magnet is on. So having something that makes that a little bit clearer would be nice, but not that big of a deal. And I guess on that note, as we start getting to smart features, is because this is a smart device, I would love to see like a Find My feature. So this is something that Garmin has. This is something we see with the GPS devices from Precision Pro. I would love it if Arccos builds in a feature so that if you forget your rangefinder on a cart, the further you get away, your phone will shoot you a reminder to say, hey, you forgot your rangefinder, go get it. And I imagine that's a pretty easy software update to make in the future, so that's something I would love to see. So all that to say, regular rangefinder, overall, it does great. But that's not the reason you would be considering buying this device. You are buying this for the Arccos integration and the smart features. So let's talk about those and how well they work. Okay, so first feature is smart distances. We talked about what those are. They're going to take a whole bunch of environmental factors, and then they're going to give you a smart distance number directly in the viewfinder. So in that viewfinder, you're going to see not one, not two, but actually 3 different yardages. And at first, I was a little skeptical about this for a few reasons. First, I don't like a cluttered viewfinder. I don't like to see too much in there. I just want to see the numbers I absolutely need to see at any given time. The good news is that despite having those 3 numbers, it never felt cluttered and the display looks really good. But what are those numbers? So the first thing you're going to see, obviously, is your actual yardage. The next one down is your Arccos Smart Distance. So this is the number that's taking all of those environmentals into account and giving you an accurate plays-like number. And the third number is Gusts. This is what it is saying the shot is when wind is at its absolute peak. So if it says your smart number is 138, a gust number might be 145. And at first when I saw this, I was like, you know what, that feels redundant. That doesn't feel like something I need. But in my experience so far across a couple rounds, this has actually proved to be really useful. So let me give you an example. So it was one of the very first holes I was playing with this device. It was a par 3 that was 163 yards to the pin. It was giving me a smart distance number of 168 and a gust number of 172. Now, at 163 yards, for me, I'm probably hitting my 8-iron. I get that smart distance at 168, and I was like, okay, that's closer to 7-iron, but the actual is 163. I'm not totally sure how much I trust it. Seeing that gust number even higher makes me basically say, okay, it's saying that's a 7-iron. I probably would have pulled 8 if I was just looking at that number, but let's give it a shot. We'll see what happens. I hit a full 7-iron and hit it pin high. With this particular green, there was a huge false front. Had I hit an 8, it might have hit the front of the green. It would have rolled all the way back down. So on that hole, I was genuinely impressed by the smart numbers that Arccos gave me, and that gust feature just gave me that extra bit of confidence that I was pulling the right club. And over the course of the next 2 rounds, I would have experiences like that on at least 3 or 4 different holes where I was kind of in between clubs, but the combination of the smart distances plus gusts helped me feel just more confident in the club that I was was choosing, and in pretty much every case, it was dead on, which kind of surprised me. So one of the things you'll have to decide is how useful those smart yardages are. The reality is these days there are a number of different rangefinders that take into account some of these environmental conditions to give you these plays-like distances. So the Bushnell Pro X3 is one that comes to mind. It takes into account all these same things, wind, elevation, temperature, in order to give you an accurate number. The Garmin Z82 is another one that will take into account wind and wind direction when it is giving you smart distances. The difference is those are $600 rangefinders, and this retails for $299. There is a catch to that. We will talk about that in a minute, but for an initial payment of $299, this is giving performance and yardages that are on par with those more expensive rangefinders. Now the second feature, and this for me as an Arccos power user is the one that is more useful, that is the pin setting feature. So like I said earlier, all you have to do to set the pin is shoot it from anywhere in the fairway, and it will then register where that pin is directly on the green. In practice, I've found this to work pretty well for the most part. I would say on 70% of the holes, it's pretty much logging the pin exactly where it is on the green. 20% of the time, it's pretty close, but not exactly dead on, and only like once or twice around have I had an experience where it's just not really that close and you need to manually adjust it. The good news is it's very easy to go into the app and make that adjustment, because when you click on the green in Arccos, it will show a little snail trail of exactly where you've walked, so it's pretty easy to recognize where you're putting and where the pin was. And honestly, this is something I'm not surprised by. This is pretty much exactly how I expected this to work. With the Garmin Z30 rangefinder, this is the only other device I have used and that I know of which has a feature where it can recognize where the pin is on the green. I have found the accuracy to be about the same. Most of the time it's pretty dead on, but just due to variances in GPS mapping as well as just accuracy and environmental factors around GPS, it's tough to get it exactly right every single time. That being said, it is certainly good enough to be very useful and has absolutely enhanced my Arccos experience. Okay, so let's recap real quick. Overall, just as a laser rangefinder, it works great. It is on par with many of the best that I've tested, aside from a few quirks here and there, specifically the fact it will vibrate after you range any distance. That's my only real major critique here. As a rangefinder, it is quick, it is accurate, and is very high quality. As for the smart features, I have been really impressed with the smart yardages it gives. I've been surprised how much I've enjoyed having that extra Gusts number, and overall I've found the reliability and the connection between the app and the device, I found it to be rock solid. One of the things I found when testing the Bushnell Pro X3 is the fact that if I didn't use it for a few holes, it seemed like it would lose connections, I'd have to open the app back up, and it would take a while to find everything. I really haven't experienced that with Arccos. So not only have the numbers been as good or better than anything I've tested, the connection and that reliability has been even better as well. The pin setting feature, overall, huge benefit, has enhanced my Arccos experience, and even though it's not been dead on 100% of the time, it has been close enough in almost every instance to really be genuinely useful. But unfortunately, there's a but. And that comes down to the pricing model for this particular device. So on the surface, $299 rangefinder, this is a killer value at $299 for everything it provides. But what I found is that in the marketing, Arccos has kind of been referring to this more as a software product than a hardware product. And that's where you start to get into some trouble. So as it sits right now, you have to have a $199 subscription to be able to use Arccos. To be clear, I don't have a problem with that. Yeah, it's maybe a little expensive, but I get so much value out of the data that Arccos gets. Not to mention, I've got a travel log of every shot I hit, of every iconic course I play, and for that, that is worth $199 a year to me. But in order to use the Smart Rangefinder, you have to spend $99 a year on top of that in order for this to work. So if you want the full meal deal Arccos package with game tracking and the rangefinder, it's going to cost you about $300 a year. Now, two bits of good news. Number one, your first year is free, so that helps soften the blow a little bit. Number two is you can use the coupon code BE15, and that's going to save you 15% on your initial purchase of this device. As you might expect, I will get an affiliate commission if you use that, so take all that with a grain of salt. Go do your own research. I do not care whether or not you buy this or not. Now, the downside here is that if you stop paying that subscription, this will not work at all. Now, what I was hoping to be able to say is, okay, you buy this for $299, you get your first year free. You can try it out, you can see if it works, you can see if those smart features are worth it for you. In worst case, you stop paying that extra subscription and you still have a really capable rangefinder, you just get to use it without all the smart features. Now, the downside is, unfortunately, that is not how it works. If you stop paying the subscription, then this will stop working entirely, which is a little bit of a bummer. And this kind of goes into the way Arccos is marketing this product. So they're looking at this as more of a software product as opposed to a hardware product. Unfortunately, I can only review exactly what's in front of me. And everything I'm reviewing, I really like. And honestly, I'm even okay with a $100 a year upgrade to be able to use this. It's the fact that if you stop paying for your subscription, then this will stop working entirely, and that's kind of a bummer. I also wanted to bring that point up because I don't necessarily feel like this is clear in the marketing, and you should know that that's the case if you think about going out and buying this. So where does that leave us? And should you buy the Arccos Smart Rangefinder? If you are an Arccos power user and you want the best experience possible, then yeah, I think this is the rangefinder you should get, assuming you are okay with the costs associated with it. The smart distances are great. The pin setting is fantastic. And like I said, they're promising a lot of feature enhancements and improvements in the future that I really hope are going to be the case. But we just don't know what those are going to be or when they're going to be rolled out. If you are not an Arccos user and you have no intention on becoming one, then this just isn't the device for you. There are a ton of great rangefinders out there for around $300 that you can go get that are going to do an excellent job. The Voice Caddy TL1 is typically the one I recommend. Dual OLED screen, super accurate, great pin locking features, and you can pick it up for $279. To be clear, I don't think anyone needs to go out and spend $600 on a rangefinder these days. The Bushnell Pro X3, great rangefinder, but you can get a very similar experience from a lot of other devices for a lot less money. One thing I do want to note is right now, like I said, you have to have an Arccos game tracking subscription in order to use this along with that upgrade. In the future, I believe they'll have a standalone subscription for this. In case you decide for whatever reason Arccos isn't the right fit for you, there's still a way you will be able to use this, but I'm not entirely sure what that is going to look like, and I will do an updated review and video when that is the case. So to wrap things up, as an Arccos power user, this is the device I will be using for the foreseeable future on the course. Do I love the pricing model? No, but it has enhanced my experience enough that I have found it to be worth it for me. Is it going to be worth it for you? Well, that's for you to decide. It is not going to be the right fit for everybody, for sure. And I know there are going to be a lot of comments from people that are not a fan of this pricing model, but I will say, if you enjoy Arccos as much as I do, or if you're someone who's looking to get tour level statistics in ways that just weren't possible a few years ago, then this is a great way to go. With that, my name is Sean Ogle. I'm the founder of this thing here at Breaking 80, where we talk about cool products and cool golf courses. If you got some value out of this, I would love it if you would subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up, drop a comment if you have any questions about this. I've now spent a lot of time with this, so I think I can probably shine some light on any questions you might have. And if you're still not sure which golf rangefinder is right for you, go take our 30-second quiz. You'll answer a few questions around what you are looking for, and I will give you my best recommendation based on the one that is the best fit for your needs. With that, I hope you have an excellent day, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace.